Hello, my name is Diane Southard, and welcome to this class on using the Shared Centimorgan Project. Now, this is only what you need to know, because once you jump in, of course, there's a lot more you could learn. But today, we're just going to cover the who, what, when, where, and how of using the Shared Centimorgan Project. So let's start out, of course, with the who. The who really begins with Blaine Bettinger. He's the mastermind behind the Shared Centimorgan Project, and early on he saw the value in crowdsourcing information. He asked us, you, me, everybody who's taken a DNA test to report back to him the total amount of DNA that we were sharing with our known relatives. And he started to pool this data basically just in an Excel spreadsheet. A few years later, enter in Leah Larkin and Johnny Pearl, both masterminds in their own right, and now we have a beautiful interactive website to help us learn all about how we're related to our DNA matches. So that's the who. Let's now talk a little bit about the what. The what of the Shared Centimorgan Project, well, it might be the best thing since two desserts, but maybe we should let everybody else decide that. But really, the what is a way to turn your genetic relationships into genealogy relationships. Now, what do I mean when I say genetic and genealogy relationships? Well, your genetic relationships are measured in something we call a centimorgan. It's just this way we talk about how much DNA we share with someone else. That's what your DNA testing company gives you, a number. And your job is to turn that number into a relationship, right? You're looking at your DNA match list and you're thinking, how am I related to these people? So the Shared Centimorgan Project helps us turn our genetic relationships into genealogy relationships. Now, I guess before we go too much further, you need to know where to find the Shared Centimorgan Project. Currently, it's hosted on the DNA Painter website, which is run by Johnny Pearl, that guy I mentioned in the who. But you can also read a quick guide to the Shared Centimorgan Project on my website at yourdnaguide.com/SCP. Okay, so now we know the who and the what and the when. The who, the what, and the where. Now, of course, we need the when of the Shared Centimorgan Project. Do you need this or not? Because honestly, not everybody does need it. So the when really comes down to this. Do you have DNA matches that you want to research that aren't at Ancestry DNA? If you do, you need the Shared Centimorgan Project. Why don't you need them at Ancestry? Well, Ancestry has their own Shared Centimorgan Project kind of built in. Now, the two systems are different, and I'm not going to go into all the details about how they're different, but essentially, if you're at Ancestry, you can get the same information I'm about to show you by clicking on the total amount of DNA that you share with someone. You can see in this image, it's that blue hyperlink number on your match page. So if you're at Ancestry, you can just use their tool, and you don't necessarily need to go to the Shared Centimorgan Project. Though honestly, there's cool stuff there anyway, but we're not going to get into it today. Okay, so that's the when. The most important, and probably the reason that you're here, is the how. How do you access and use the Shared Centimorgan Project? Well, you go to dnapainter.com, and then you click on the link right there in the middle that says Tools. Now, I probably should get myself out of the way. Let me put myself over here. There we go. Use the link, click on Tools. That's the first step. Then this menu is going to pop up because there are actually a lot of tools at the DNA Painter website, and I encourage you to take a look at each of them. But again, we're staying laser focused on the Shared Centimorgan Project. So then click on Shared Centimorgan Project, believe it or not, and that's going to take you to this page. Now, before you go any further, I really want to encourage you to go over to the left side, and there's this tiny little link right here that says beta with updated probabilities. So I want you to click on that beta link as long as it's there. I mean, maybe you're watching this much later and everything's not beta anymore and that link's not there, which is fine. But if it is there, click it. That just gives you access to the most updated numbers from the project. Okay. So now you're faced with this information here. What you want to do is in the upper part of the table, you're going to insert the total amount of DNA that you share with someone into that box. So you're going to grab that number from your testing company. All of our testing companies give us that number. So grab that number, throw it into this box, and watch what happens. essentially things change. You get a new table at the top of the page, and the table at the bottom kind of does some rearranging. So let's take a look at that top table. Essentially, what's going on here is the program is telling you what relationships are most likely based on the amount of DNA that you share. So it has translated that number, 54 centimorgans, into relationship possibilities. It says, well, Diane, it looks like it's 21% likely that you're half third cousins, or third cousins once removed, or half second cousins twice removed. You get the picture. Right? So essentially, this table helps you start looking for your common ancestor with your DNA match. Now you can scroll down below the table if you want to, and you can look at this chart, which essentially says exactly the same thing, just in this chart form. Essentially, every relationship that's not grayed out could be your relationship with this DNA match. And you'll notice there's a lot of possibilities. One more thing about this chart, if we zoom in, what you'll see is that each of these boxes contains information about this particular relationship. So for example, you'll see their third cousins. That middle number, 75, is the average amount of DNA that you share with this match. And the numbers below that, 0 to 234, that's the range of DNA shared that they saw in the project. So remember, people were submitting to Blaine how much DNA they were sharing with their third cousins. Some people don't share any DNA with their actual third cousins. And some people were sharing 234 centimorgans with their third cousins. So this really gives you an idea about genetic variation and how DNA is kind of crazy in the way that it's inherited. And that helps us understand better about relationships as well. So there you have it. The who, what, when, where, and how of the Shared Centimorgan Project. And this really is all you need to know. So I'm Diane Southard. Thank you for joining me. If you're interested, you can also catch a few of my RootsTech talks in these various areas. I have 2 talks being given in RootsTech proper, I'm calling it. And then here in the vendor area, you'll see my booth, Your DNA Guide, as well as 2 other talks that you might be interested in. And if you want to contact me more directly, please follow me on social media. I'm always sharing fun tips and techniques that you can use right away in your family history. We have a monthly newsletter if you're interested in that, plus lots of other things that might help you in your genealogy journey. We are so grateful that you're here and watching and learning with us. I'm going to move my head over here so you can see my YouTube channel. Right there if you're interested. Thank you again for caring enough to come to RootsTech and learn more about your family.